right, guys, welcome to the Dr. Dex podcast. My name is Jason Russell. I'm accompanied by my son, Calvin Russell, who is also known as DJ Studio Man.
Hi.
And Calvin Russell Rings.
Hi.
That's him. And he is also a talented musician, as you heard.
No.
From that awesome introductory music at the beginning that he made.
Mediocre at best.
For me. For this really awesome podcast. Today, I have a gentleman named Jon Witt. Not Wick. Witt. He's as cool as Jon Witt, mainly in his ability to nurture wood. He has a full PhD in complete sealing, staining, all the terminology. We're going to get into it, John. John, please introduce yourself and what you currently do.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jon Witt, and currently I work for Q-Tek Wood Solutions for basically deck maintenance, exterior wood care, and just general everyday problem solving for exterior wood solutions.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you when I first met you, or for the last, I don't know, man, it's been a while, right? We've known each other for a while.
Yeah, a few years now, for sure.
You had your own company, right?
Yes.
And what was that called again?
Well, I guess it started out first. I was a builder as well, much like you. I believe it was probably about 8 years ago. You and I both stood up on the podium together there with Nadra, which evolved into wood exterior maintenance. I had a maintenance company and deck maintenance that spun off of that, and which got really busy and took over my time in those capacities. And I pushed into doing wood pre-finishing company in more of a factory setting and manufacturing, and which has led me into working in a capacity of business development and technical advisement with Cutek now, where I work all around North America, both Canada and the US, and working with builders and helping them show the value proposition of having a maintenance program or something in that capacity as part of their building programs, but also working with other material pre-finishing companies and just helping them get past the learning curve and understanding how these products work well together and how we can turn it into forms of residual income downstream and just take a little bit of that pain and heartache out of, and have a little more understanding about what wood really is and how it is truly a really amazing, versatile building material.
Great.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into all that, but before we do, okay, and forgive me for being presumptuous, but I know you're in the Greater Toronto area, correct?
Yeah, just a little north of there, but pretty close from there, where I reside most times. But yeah, I'm all over the place most days.
Okay, so is that where you're from originally? Did you grow up in that area?
Well, I was kind of came into the Ontario area probably around sort of the grade 3, grade 4 around time area. Originally, I'm from Calgary, Alberta, and I guess right around 87 or so of one of the several little mini recessions that has happened in our lifetimes. My folks moved us away and came back over to Ontario, and basically been in there. But yeah, majority of my life I've been there, but I've bounced around here and there since.
Sure. So what was your so where'd you go to grade school?
Oh, it's well, I live in a little sort of cottage town, probably about a couple hours northeast of Toronto. We got basically a population of 1,600 people. It's a little town called Fenelon Falls, Ontario. It's a cottage industry. So basically, we're up and hopping for the summer seasons, and then as soon as the snowflakes start falling, out comes the plywood and board up all the windows in town, and then everyone's sitting there waiting for the summer to start again for next year.
Yeah, so let's analyze that, because this is not an American tradition, really.
No.
I mean, but just about every Canadian person that I know owns a cottage. Like, are these things like handed down from generation to generation? Are they generational, or is it just the thing where like before you turn a certain age you have to own a cottage? Is that part of being a Canadian, or what's the deal here? Because explain the heritage of that.
Well, not everyone has it, but quite a number of people. It's that getaway, sort of like the camp down here in the States, or just getting away, that second summer home or beach home. The cottage, there are quite a number of people in it, and they can range and scale from like very, very simple and modest little things to some pretty extraordinarily bougie waterfront properties, stuff with 4,000 square feet of exotic hardwood docks and boathouses that are bigger than a house that I have back at home.
I can imagine. There's some amazing cottages.
Will be generationally passed down. So there's a lot of real interesting how a lot of them they're built today. They're built with legacy in mind. So it's there's some pretty high-end materials and stuff that people will know that it's going to last the test of time and be able to. They're proven. So. Does everybody have one? No, a lot of people want them.
No, I kind of joke with it, because it just seems like so many people I talk to from that area are like, "Oh yeah, we're going to the cottage this weekend." Another guy has a cottage. So is this your? Yeah, we have a cottage. I'm like, wow, maybe I need to look into getting one of these things, because they seem like they're pretty cool.
No, I thought I'd just cut out the middleman, and we've just moved full time into the cottage area there. So it's nice. It's great in the summertime. Like, we only got so many months to sort of really make it happen up there. So we squeeze every minute we can get out of that type of weather. Man. And when there's a bit of a trade-off, though, when you're pushing away in more of those rural areas, conveniences and population densities aren't really as high as conveniences aren't quite as nice as they are in some of the greater populous areas. But you know what? You get used to it real easy. Driving is not a big deal. Everything's an hour away. Costco is, that's a monthly $1,000 trip sort of deal. It's
sure.
But once it's like routine with anything else. Once you get doing it, you really don't. It's not that big of an inconvenience once it becomes a routine. So
is that your lifestyle currently as well? Are you like live in a cottage that's near a resort or something like that? Or?
No. I live in sort of a downtown, I say downtown. It's a tiny village, like it was 1,600 people. I've lived close to the core. We live in it's been there for a long time. I fell in love with sort of old century type homes, and we found one at a good price when I was young and married, and we had a couple kids, and being handy, I thought, I can just fix this up, it'll be good. So 13, 14 years later, I'm almost done fixing it up. But
that's gonna feel good.
It's a 100-year house. Before, if I could advise anybody, think real long and hard before you hop into that century house. It may have a lot of charm, but boy, there's a lot of stuff when you
a lot of hidden fixes,
for sure. Yeah, like
wow.
I want to move a light fixture, and that turns into I got to drop the whole entire ceiling and move something, and then all of a sudden it's all the hidden stuff. Yeah, it's never straightforward.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. All right. So you grew up in a small town. What was junior high and high school like for you?
Well, it was pretty standard, a typical high school guy, not really super enthralled about being at school, played football and had my friends. We, kept tight, I'd like to say typical guy. I don't really know. My wife grimaced wanting to after I told her stories when I had moved away. Before I had brought her back, we actually moved back to the town that I grew up in, and
Hmm.
she was very hesitant there because I would tell her all the stories of the mischief and stuff I would get up to when I was a kid, and she's like, "I'm never going up there with the race kids." There's like all the stories you tell me, and dragged her up there kicking and screaming, and yeah, now we're up there. We've been up there for 16 years almost now for, and she can't imagine being anywhere else. So it's something in the water.
Nice, nice, cool. So, so you're into sports a little bit in high school.
A
How
little bit.
and were you into academics at all, or?
I probably spent, well, academic, not really. I spent pretty much almost all my time between the art studios and the tech shops, and back and forth. It was a very odd combination in the fact that, was there between painting, photography, just art history, loved all that, and just knowing some of those things, and then really liked working with my hands. So between cabinetry and down in the auto shop, and just tinkering, always building and creating, but not always, but trying to be creative at the same time, not necessarily following a status quo of here's a design that's like, let's go off script and just make some stuff and see what works and break things
Hmm?
and try to fix them again.
Nice.
So it was fun. Had some really good teachers. Had my wood shop teacher who was a pretty good influence on mine. He's still local in the area. I've known him for a long, long
Cool.
time, but he really encouraged me to stick with some wood shop, and knew saw something that I was able to understand production in the wood department, and didn't think anything of it once I got out of it, and then lo and behold, later on, here I
Hey,
am. So
that brings up a question I have. So, where I'm from, I graduated in 1987. Okay, so that dates me a little bit, but back then we had and I didn't, man, these electives that they gave us in high school, some of them are so cool. Wood shop, metal shop, stained glass, automotive class, and none of that exists now.
yeah, it's
Uh,
that's it,
have you noticed that as well?
it's like there is still like my son. He's my youngest. He's 16. Uh, he wants to be in the trades. He's just like he wants to pick up. We've left my business open, so one day if he wants to pick
Oh,
it up,
nice.
he can. It's there for him. But just dying to get in the trades. Loves to build. Just mess
Hmm?
around, create things. Grew up putting Lego together, but yeah, not the same as what it was when I was there, and watch some of those programs really just sort of go to the wayside. And it's they're starting to come back a little bit now because they are realizing like, hey, who are we going to get to fix stuff later? And and we've got a lot of all these academics out there, and none of them know how to turn a screwdriver. Which
Yeah,
so they're starting to see that real deficit. So it is coming back. It's nice to see that happening again, and just realizing the need. It's just unfortunate that we have to continually go through these ebbs and flows of the education system to that point. So
I agree.
um, there was a it was a good start point in high school of that, but I actually did two different apprenticeships later on as I got
Hmm?
further on, and that was when you really learn when you're hands on there. So given the ability to hopefully not make mistakes, but you given a little more uh, balance at being when you're out there and actually doing it when there's a bit of a consequence to the where you need to get it done. But having a good journeyman or teacher or whatever, I don't know what they call them all over the place, but working under those capacities, I've been very blessed to have quite a number of good teachers in the field downstream.
Nice.
So yeah.
That's really nice. So, you okay? So, were those apprenticeships after high school?
They were after high school, so
So you graduate high school.
graduated high school, and then basically a couple little typical little jobs, just trying to figure out what I'm going to do in life. Popped around at a couple of little restaurants, and then I was introduced into working at a golf course, which was
Mm.
great. It was about an hour or so away from where I was, closer to the city, which at that point was like, get me out of this small town. Uh, you know, so anything pulling me away, we started into that, and I worked in the golf industry actually for quite a number of years, where I was really taught and given a real serious understanding of what real maintenance is. Until you get on a golf course and realize here's 100 acres I'm working on, and no matter what the weather's doing, the grass is always growing, and you got to keep, you know, it's the pinnacle of what everybody looks to and wants to aspire for their front lawn. And
No kidding.
there's a lot of work that's involved in that. And I stayed in that industry for quite a while. Started off in the actual construction of golf courses, and then ended up becoming an assistant superintendent on one of the courses. That was in my very early 20s, and
So you
just
were you partially in charge of like maintenance of the grass?
yeah, the whole outside of the golf course. So second in charge on that particular course, and then there was so I had about staff of 14 when I was like 22 years old, and
Oh,
stupid and young. A bunch of equipment, being up at crack of stupid, being at work for 3 in the morning and work, and then just basically working 2 full-time jobs worth of hours. And um yeah, did that for quite a number of years, and then it just got to a point I just said that's enough. I had reached burnout, and
yeah, yeah.
decided to flip it up, and uh flipped over, did some seasonal stuff in the wintertime. And so I'd go from golf, and then I would go and work at ski resorts,
Oh, wow.
making snow. So it was, I'm born to be outside. I've tried inside work once, and it just didn't cut it for me. There's something about being outside. Uh, I remember it was an office job downtown Toronto, and it was through the winter, which was fine because I don't like the cold.
Right.
Which was I found out real quick at the ski resorts. But as soon as this tree started budding and coming out, here I am on the 17th floor at the corners of like Yonge and Bloor in Toronto, and I'm like scratching at the windows, like let me out. And yeah, and they laid me off, and they're like all sad, and I'm going, oh no, it's okay, here, don't worry, I'll be fine. Went back, hopped back to the golf course for a bit, and then ended up stayed there for a season and got into some house construction. Like I bounced around a lot, just
Mm-hmm.
trying different experiences, and it probably didn't really settle down until my mid 30s with anything real sort of solid. But um, yeah, worked golf course, left, did professional landscaping for a bit, which was a fairly good fit, and took some of my carpentry experiences after that, started doing some exterior like pergolas and just some wood features in some of the landscapes. And then I really started falling in love with woodwork at that time. To be fair, when I was a landscaper, I used to despise deck builders because I couldn't believe how much money they charged and how light their materials were. Um, and yeah, just through little progressions and little things that hindsight, looking back at the path and experiences and stuff that I had, and it just all sort of culminated to where I am now. That it just was, if you never know if you're going to be in that perfect fit, and you don't really realize it till you can sit and look back and just go, okay, uh, apparently there was something going on there leading you to this point. So
Right on.
and here you are.
Cool. So once you kind of started getting into construction,
hmm
tell us like what did it lead? How did it lead into you starting your own business, and then what were you specializing in for that business?
Well, we got up to a point. I started a little bit into electrical because I thought, electricians have a real easy gig just twisting wires, and not the case. It was industrial stuff.
Oh my.
We were in a installing wood finishing equipment in factories for like cabinetry and flooring, and which at the time didn't even think anything of it. Pretty pertinent to what I'm doing now. Um, and we had sort of a boom bust cycle sort of run through, and things were drying up work wise where we were. And I just sort of said, you know what, this isn't right. I had moved away from home and was in sort of north of Niagara area in Burlington, Ontario, near Hickory Dickory Decks, if you ever known of that company. But
Yep. I know Tom.
yeah, right near Tom's backyard. And said, okay, it's time to go back home. So I was newly married. We had my daughter at this time, and my son who had just been born, and said, okay, we're going back home and to my parents' place. Mom and dad are always there with open arms. It's always good to have a good supportive family like that. And moved in there and had ran it by fluke. Picked up a job building this really crazy immense privacy screen. It was all on Western red cedar, and I had arched the top, like almost big giant, like the huge 4-foot diameter arch with these moving sunbeam spires, so it looked like a setting sun. And then I did a nice herringbone sort of pattern down the panel. So, and just let my artistic side take over, and I did that and landed it up. And incredible amount of work, and took some photos and thought, wow, what the heck, threw them in on this one little column in a magazine called My Home Building. And I got a letter back from an editor, and they're like, yeah, we're going to post your project in the magazine. And I'm like, what? Like, didn't even think anything of it. It was just sort of like the readers section for put something in. And next thing you know, it sort of pushed there. People started saying, you should really start focusing on some of this. And so I went into starting with that, and that led into doing some more outside structures. And next thing you know, I opened up my deck build company, Witt's Woods and Greens at the time, and which was focused on woods and landscaping and outside structures, and kind of just sort of took off from that. And then one day was playing around on a design program, and I walked into Deck Masters to go buy some stuff off of Gerald and Dave for some AZEK, because I was watching you and Paul LaFrance and everything that was going on TV at the time, and I'm like, can't be that hard, right? Like, so I bought a set of bending blankets, and then started on my deck in my backyard, and just took off from there. Just started doing real out of the ordinary sort of things, and much like just I just wanted to be different in a sense of saying, we don't have to all follow this boxy sort of format. And I put a lot of that, the influences of what I've seen with other guys and watching what's out there capable. But my mother, who was very artistic in herself, and was a gardener and do all the things, she hated straight lines. She's just like, everything's got a curve and flow. Nothing's that rigid in life. Just relax and just go with the flow, or just be fluid. And stuff like that really stuck with me. And it was fun, and it was a challenge, and I liked all that stuff. But it's just a lot of things. They just all led up and culminated to that point. And later on, being in a town of only about 1,600 people, and the population pops up in the summertime when we get all the cottagers that would be there. But last thing anybody wants to do in cottage season is work and have construction going on. So that everybody would try to get stuff going in the winter, and I don't like the cold. So we started driving further and further out for stuff, and Um, yeah, just kept pushing the envelope with that. Did a fair amount of like AZAC work with a lot of bending. Tried to, do enough work that I didn't feel like my blankets were a cost and more of an asset versus a liability at those points. And so always trying to push that, but not really the budget markets of where you could get some of those things and where people would sort of push that out. So I was basically giving away a lot of work for probably
Hmm.
a lot less than what it was really worth, and just to let that artistic outflow get out. I would imagine you probably know a bit of that feeling yourself.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I've done some really crazy stuff for free. You know, more than twice.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes it's to satisfy my ego. Sometimes it's just because I feel like it needs to be done, and I don't think the people are going to compensate me for it. And then more recently, it's for the content
Yeah,
to
yeah.
share with others that may benefit me in some other way.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. We'll get to that in a little bit, but okay, so now you've got your construction company. You're and primarily you're building decks, or are you like a all-in builder of different structures as well, or what?
Well, I did a couple. You got to keep yourself busy in the winter. Unfortunately, there's,
Right, right.
everyone's got to eat. So, we would do the occasional inside. I did some cabinetry making, did a couple custom kitchens.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just working in fine trim carpentry. Really loved that. Like all the finished carpentry, loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. All the detail. Let's get in there into the nitty gritty. Um, but it was always that place on that contingency. Yeah, I'll come and do it. Do your bathroom for you. But as soon as that, as soon as becomes spring, I got to be outside. So we did a little bit of everything. You kind of have to be. You have to be pretty
Yeah.
versatile in what you're doing. Um,
So how did you get your background in the cabinetry world? I mean, cabinetry, in my opinion, and finished carpentry, you got to have a special set of skills to be able to do that, because if you're not precise, you're not going to get hired, or you're not going to have a good referral, because people are going to be like looking at that every day going, these things don't line up, or this panel's different from this panel, or all the little nuances that like drive people nuts. You got to be fluid, like you said, and be on point, so how did you, is that something you've always had inside of you to do
Patience.
that type? Yeah.
Yeah, that was always all my buddies growing up. They were just like, if any, you would say like you're the most patient person in the world. Like a lot of all my other guys who were builders as well. Like you grow up in a rural area, you either build or you move out of the area and go find something else.
Okay.
There wasn't a lot of options, and a lot of them were all framers. And don't get me wrong, they started out as framers. A lot of them are actually really accomplished, very uh, good, fine home builders now they're doing stuff now. But like we're talking, they're running on some of them like 25 years of experience now. So
Right.
if you don't got it down by then, well,
Yeah, he probably
yeah.
shouldn't be doing it. Yeah.
But they would always
Yeah.
say along the line, they're like, "Oh my gosh, that if they see something that was really intricate or something that would have taken them a lot of time, a lot of them would walk away from it, and they'd usually just say, "Can you come finish this? You can handle this," or patience and just being really particular over details. And it got to, yeah, it was just really finicky. It's just going through art class and knowing those sort of details. And but the point of photography kicked into the point of you really got to really see all those minute little things, that stuff that might be off on the side and just out of frame a bit. But when you start playing with depth of field and focuses on that, when you want to really pull something out from in the distance, and that's what you want to be the key point, but something that's in the foreground has to be there too. All
Hmm.
those things, like everything. It's my art teachers that taught me is like the visual elements. So this line, shape, space, value, color, texture, form. I cannot forget that. And so these are the things that make up what you see. And when you understand that, all of it just starts sliding together. So it's not just So if something's not lining up and your miters aren't perfect, it drives me insane. And the influences from my high school shop teacher, who was cabinet maker, keeping close to him, and he was always there, available. Like even afterwards, when I was out of high school, down the line, I could always call him up and be like, Mr. Lawson, can you, I'm kind of stuck on this. How do you do this? And he's like, oh yeah, come on over, Johnny. We'll have a beer and figure it out. So
Nice.
it was always it was really great having that sort of support space in that. And high school kid building speaker boxes, like how many of those did I build through for me, all my friends, and every time they got another jalopy that they wanted to put another speaker box in. So it was a lot of repeat sort of things, and you pick up stuff. It's just by
Yeah.
doing it. It's
Yeah.
it's like playing.
There's kind of an art to that too. If you can calculate the cubic inches of something,
get
and then
the-
how you're going to port it or not port it, or
Mhm.
put a chamber. Did you ever section a like a subwoofer box and put a chamber in it to get a different kind of boom out of it or a different sound?
We played around with it. I don't know if we were exactly successful with it. And, we certainly lost some hearing somewhere along the line.
Excellent.
In
Yep.
those sort of cases. Yeah, it was just little things, all those things, and it just stuff you pick up along the way, and it just all
Sure.
culminated to this sort of point. So when I ended up playing around doing some kitchen stuff, like learn some techniques from my woodshop teacher and dovetail, like read about it, didn't actually put it into theory, and then you end up at a little buy and sell shop, and I'm like, oh, there's a dovetail jig. It can't be that hard. There's a lot of math involved in that, apparently. So playing around with those, and just wanted to do it and try it and challenge myself. See, like you say, you got to feed your ego a little bit every once in a while, and
Yeah.
put that out there. But I also like to work with a little bit of pressure. So sometimes I would, sign on to a job with somebody and say, yeah, I can do that. And then know that if I said I did it, said I was going to do it, I was going to carry it through and
Yep.
get it done. So it was a lot of school of hard knocks in some scenarios.
Yes.
We learned, we got it done, and we made sure everybody was happy at the end of the day. But some days it just wasn't a profitable situation to be
Yeah.
in.
Understood. Yep.
But the one that I did for my parents the one year, they bought an old house, and they started relying on me a lot for doing some reno stuff, which is good. You should always, your parents do a lot of stuff for you. So if wherever you can, help your folks out. And I built them a custom kitchen right from scratch. We just ordered in
Oh,
the
wow.
plywood, had it dropped off, and the living room of the house that at the time they weren't living in it, and we turned that into a wood shop over the winter. And I, sat there, had my track saw out, and was cutting all the panels, was working with veneers for all the edge banding. We turned it up, made all the raised panel doors, so cutting all the rails and stiles. Did a real nice little shaker style kitchen in it, and then brought it all upstairs to the room up above the garage, and then made that into my spray shop, and had it all sprayed. I mean, if there was a hard way to do it, I did it.
Nice. Yeah, I guess.
But at the end of the day, to hear your dad go, like, call you up out of the blue, I'm having coffee in the kitchen, and I'm just sitting here looking at this, and thank you, sort of deal. This
Wow.
is so nice. And yeah, it's I bought a lot of education, so but I don't mind doing it when it's with people that you love, right? So
Sure.
yeah.
Did you go to college?
I went to a couple colleges. So first school I ever actually went to was in Pensacola, Florida, and I actually went to go into youth ministry and physical education at a Christian college for seminary. And that was right around the time I was older, so I was about 23 years old at that time, and shortly after my golf course stint, where I was wanted to go back and serving. One, I was not in a really great spot in my life earlier to that, and coming to I was drunk and high a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
had to have some stuff changed in that. At that time, it was basically gave my life over to the Lord, and thought, let's go to Bible boot camp, and went to probably one of the most conservative schools in the United States, and we were there just before the planes hit the building as a foreign student, and yeah, there was I still remember the day sitting there in chapel in the morning, and the announcement comes off, and people glued on the screen at CNN. 3 days later, when I saw the first airplane fly over top of us and nearly jumped out of my skin, like it was a crazy, crazy,
Mm.
crazy time. I remember seeing
Wow.
before, yeah, had a tiny little cancer scare at the time, and just sort of took a bunch of things to say, okay, maybe it's time to go home. So I finished up the semester, went home for Christmas, and then just said, all right, I wasn't really doing good grade wise, because that's where I found I was still not an academic, and I learned through osmosis. There's more stuff I've picked up and been able to reciprocate since. It usually takes about 5 years for me to actually click for what I learned in class before it actually comes out in a knowledgeable sense. And yeah, took a break from there. That's where I had a bit of a stint working in the office, and that's because I had blown out my knee playing soccer. So I was
Mm.
awaiting knee surgery, so which is why I worked in the office building. Um, and had my surgery, got back, and as soon as it was well enough, I went back to the golf course for a little while, and tried out another seminary later on in that fall of that year afterwards, and that was closer to home, and that's where I met my wife. And so we called it at a school called Heritage Christian College in Cambridge, Ontario, nicknamed Meritage. So I got my MRS there from my where I met my wife, and we I stayed there for about a semester, and then ended up auditing pretty much most of my classes, because the whole studious academic thing was still not happening, and but I still had a need to want to serve and help
Mm.
kids, try to you know work with them and youth within the church, and just help them get past some of the mistakes that I had made in my life, and get them past
Sure.
what I would say the learning curve, and just if there's better ways. And um, so yeah, pushed over to that until later on I ended up working as a landscaper there, and that's where I was signed up to do my horticultural technician apprenticeship. And so I did about 2 years of that, and got my practical hours, did my off-season schooling, and went through there, which was kind of funny. There's the whole landscape construction part, which I loved, and was really good at. It was more formality, but then started learning plant science, and going through those aspects of botany, plant science, plants identification. So, and knowing that, which was fascinating to me, learning all the Latin botanical names and plant identification. Here's a twig, tell me what this is. And it's like those were
Wow.
tests. They would hand out like
Yeah.
several pine cones, and you'd have to, every week we had 5 species. We had to know the English names, common names, and have them all, and the
My goodness.
Latin botanical names, and all, like my wife, who I'd come home in the evening and study, and I was enthralled in it, because for some funny reason, I got the first time I've actually felt like school was clicking with me, and so like I'm really driving for this. I want to know this, and I want to do this, and I'm writing out the Latin names like 20 times down the page. As I'm writing it, I'm seeing it and I'm saying it. So I'm like writing out Metasequoia glestrobodes, Metasequoia glestrobodes. And my wife was just going like, oh my goodness, if I hear another Latin name of a tree, that she'd be like, just, it was annoying. So I joke about it all the time, because with her, I said, one of these days I'm going to plant one of these in our yard, and you're gonna love it. But yeah, that was a Dawn redwood, which you guys would be very familiar with over down out your way. Is the big, giant, tall, giant redwood trees, and that was one of my favorites. But did that, enjoyed it, then phased out a little later after I burned myself out of doing landscaping, and yeah, we were there, and there were just a lot of little things in those classes that I just didn't. I was like, why am I here? Some of this stuff I was like, did well in the class. I just didn't understand. I'm never going to use this stuff ever. And then here I am, like 22 years later, and I'll take phone calls from people, and I'll be like, "Oh wait, I know that answer. That's actually because of a snail or something like that, like a weird marking on a deck." And I'm
Hmm.
like, "Yeah, no, that's like a snail eating the moss off your deck and everything." They couldn't figure out what a. Anyways, long story short, it was just all these little educational things that I thought were worthless at the time were like these little treasure troves all of a sudden 22 years later. So
Wow, that's kind of cool.
yeah, it was kind of really interesting. What I thought was worthless. So like it was one of the things. It's like don't just throw what you're doing away at the time. Just even though you may not think you need it, you never know. And
That's
that
solid
was
advice.
yeah. It's pay attention because you never know. And
Yeah,
yeah,
really good stuff. Okay, so let's go to your back. Okay. Oh, one question I have before we
sure.
go on further. Cause you keep bringing back, or we've been bringing back golf a little bit. So do you currently golf or like to golf, or is that just something that you did as a career?
Well, it was golf course maintenance. I golfed a lot when I was there. I had privileges all across North America to play because of the association. Did I ever take
Cool.
advantages of it? No, because I was working two full-time jobs at the time on the course. But yeah, no, do enjoy golf. Actually, just played golf. Went to a Top Golf last night with my son to
Oh, fun.
and just smash some golf balls. I am really good at donating them into the woods and the ponds. Uh, but yeah, I used to play quite a lot. Usually, I was about 3 days a week I would play, and when I worked at the golf
Oh.
course, I was playing almost every day. So uh, doesn't mean I was good. It just meant
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
golf's a pretty
Like to
good way
play.
to ruin a walk in a park. So
Yeah, I think golf's fun to play, but it's a little boring to watch at times.
mhm.
Like on TV. Like I think people that just watch golf but have never tried it, they're probably not getting the full experience of it.
Yeah.
But I'm a terrible golfer. I got to a point where I'd go to the driving range and I would smash balls and hit them nice and straight. Even the instructor's like, "Dang, bro." I'm like, "Yeah, crazy, huh?" But would put me on a course and I'm a nightmare. Nobody wants to pair up with me because I'm lost.
Oh, we
But
used to say no, it was a waste of time going to the driving range. You leave all your good shots there.
yeah, pretty much. I've left a few slices as well, but still, right? Okay. All right. So now you are in your business
Hmm.
and you're doing woodworking. And let's get a little bit into where you're heading to where you are now, but where you started really getting into this brand of product that you work for now. And you started doing a lot of maintenance of decks, right?
Yeah. Well,
And and
yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, well, yeah. So where we were, there's a lot of Western red cedar, and you as well too. And there is, and so there's just kind of a real sensory joy of working with wood to that point, unless you work with it so much that you're sick of the smell. But it smells great. It's always worked good. So it was real joy. Like I used to wake up in the morning and get up and I used to sing, "Yay, let's go build a deck," something like along that line. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was goofy. I really loved it. I really did. It was always fun, going down on it, doing the job, getting it, like everything's, it's always awesome as a deck builder when you're doing that because when it's fresh and it's brand new and everything, it always looks good. Like as the builder, you're walking away, it looks like $1,000,000 every time. maybe, or whatever they paid for it.
Hmm. Yeah, right.
And then, but there's that frustration. It's wood. It's if you don't look after it, it doesn't stay that way. And like anything outside, it just doesn't. It's like outside is it's you got pollen, you got birds dropping stuff all over the place, you got grass dust, everything. It just will culminate on the surface and it gets dirty. And my clients who probably paid a little more than the average person would for a deck, but don't get me wrong, they weren't like overpaying or anything like that. I would sympathize with them. They'd be like, oh, like, can we stain it? And like, I want to be helpful, and I've tried hundreds of different stains and gone there, and then the year later, I get the phone call back, and they're like, yeah, like this stain, it's failed, it's cracking, it's peeling, it's falling off the surface, and I feel horrible because it's like I took the recommendation that I was sold saying like this stuff's the great stuff. It's all the log guys are doing. Everybody loves this, and I'd be like, okay, because I didn't really know. I wasn't a chemist or a coatings guy or a painter by any stretch. So I'd feel bad. I said, well, I recommended it. And, if anything, I have integrity, and if I said it was good and it wasn't, I'm going to come back and fix it. So I started fixing, stripping all these decks back afterwards, and then it just got so bad after a while, after trying product after product, and nothing was holding up. And I just said, that's it. I'm done. I am done working with wood. I love it, but I can't do it. It's just been nothing but heartache and grief. I can't keep my clients happy. I'm going to go build a plastic. Forget it. I give up. And it was literally like that, and had gone and started working. I signed up with Trax and signed up with AZAC. This is about the time I had just gotten involved with Nadra. Still like working with wood, so try to do it, but it's just like, hey, if you want to stain it, that is on you, man. Like I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole. Nothing out there works. So had won a couple Nadra awards by this time, and had done some docks and some cedar stuff, and done a couple curvy things, which at the time, if you could curve something, yeah, it turned some heads. So won a couple awards, and so next thing you know, I got Gerald and at from Deck Masters or Deck Source at the time. He's like, "Hey John, you should really check out this Q-Tek stuff. Like, stuff works." And I'm like, whatever. And I was just like, yeah. So he bugged me for about 2 years, and I finally said, in spite, I said, fine, I'll buy a gallon. Give me a gallon just to shut you up. And I'm bringing this home. And just to let you know, I'm not going to tell you my results for a year, but I'm purposely bringing this home to make it fail, just to show you you're the same as everybody else. So now I'm on a mission. And so I get out there and I'm go down their list of all the things, crack, flake, peel, and everything down the brochure, and I'm like, check, 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 check. Okay, we're gonna check them all. Well, they did. Lo and behold, I'm like, okay, it's doing that. Well, that's pretty refreshing. Everything it says it does, it does. So that was impressive in itself, because that's not always the case with a lot of products out there. They got some pretty clever marketing or however they've done it. So then I started doing stupid stuff like, okay, it's way colder than it's supposed to be at for the recommendation, and I'm outside applying it, and it's still working. The moisture contents were higher than what their recommendations were, and just like I'm thinking, well, let's treat it like a homeowner would. Like, let's honestly, nobody reads. Let's just slap it on there and see what happens, and it kept working. So I came back after I turned to my best friend, and he was sort of lead hand working with me at the time, and I said, this stuff is remarkable. And the last time I went to go test something, because it has really deep penetrating qualities, and I had this chunk of Douglas fir. It was 2.5, almost 3 inches thick, rough cut on the side, and they coated it on one side. And I said, well, let's see how deep this stuff really goes. So I cut it in half. It'd been coated already for quite a while and just been sitting in my shop. So I said, all right, cut it. And I look at the cross cut and I go, aha. You just see a tiny little thing like this. I go, I gotcha. I gotcha. I gotcha. I gotcha. Somewhere it didn't hold up to the claim. I turn around, I walk back to the house and go make a sandwich and everything. I'm all like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm going to call Gerald up and rub it in his face. And I come back out to the sandwich and I'm drinking the thing and I go back and look at the cut thing, ready to take some pictures of it. And lo and behold, all of a sudden it had taken about a second for the oxygen to get to the oil to show how deep it had penetrated. And of a piece of wood that was this thick, it had penetrated that far through it. So,
Wow.
and I was just like, oh, and I'm just staring at it and turned around back to the house and I went, all right, that's like, honestly, this is so different. This is going to change the wood industry again. It's going to let me come back to what I really loved working with. So I walked into the house and I opened up my second little business at the time, from which was in green. I opened up Deck Protect and registered it as a business, as a maintenance business. Because not saying it was a one and done scenario, realizing that being outside, it's going to need maintenance. Why am I not capitalizing on this? Why am I paying all that extra money for a composite product that they're getting all that long-term residual maintenance, basically pay up front sort of thing on it? I said, I want that. Thought I was kind of smart financially on that. So I opened that up and started offering the pre-finish. We were pre-oiling our stuff for our clients and doing the maintenance. And it was good margins. It wasn't hard work. I didn't need any crazy equipment to do it. It was keeping the relationships that I had with our clients good, because it was like I'm visiting them every year or every other year. So if there was something else they wanted, they're like, hey, John, you're here. Can we get some more? So I was just like, okay, maybe it's not necessarily about the work. Maybe it's more about the relationship and the service aspect. And that kept going. And to the point that all of a sudden, after a few years, I didn't have to build to create more clients to do for the work. It just started compounding. And to the point, like, all of a sudden other builders are going, well, could you do that for me too? And I'm like, sure, because it's not hard. It's just you had to do it. Maybe not the most glamorous, and
But
maybe
it's
not.
also something you could train somebody else to do for you, right?
Yeah, well, which, not being a smart scale minded business person at the time, I enjoyed that hands-on quality thing. I should have been smart and trained other people and got them out there to do that, but it's what's the term? In order to grow, you must let go. Uh, and
Yeah.
yeah,
I can't do that either, so I get
yeah,
it.
which
I
was
totally get
tough.
it. I
But
can let go for a couple hours a day, but that's about it.
you like to be there. You like to be involved, and those were the things I really loved. What I should have done was hired somebody to take care of that portion and just let me go do something with, some of my special clients.
Right?
All in hindsight. But anyways, so we started doing that, and now we're picking up people. Now they're calling us for clients that we haven't even built, and we're doing retroactive fits now. And so now I'm on projects that I never built and that weren't new builds, maybe a couple years old, that were there, and we're finally saying now, and we're into some high end stuff up north. So where I was introduced into a lot of thermally modified stuff,
Mm.
and which was early. So this was like early in the modified scenes from about 10, 11 years ago or so. Um, And I kept going, you know what? This would be so much easier had this been done before it was even built. And then it's like, oh, why don't I just open up a material pre-finishing wing of this? So had known quite a number of people just with uh, some of the contacts I had made through some of my build supply, and um, go to a couple shows and get to know some more people, just trying to get exposure and sort of network in those aspects. And we started taking on doing material pre-finishing. We're still building a little bit, but not really that much. And
Okay.
also offering this service now for other builders, which it took off because it gave a pre-finished wood product, like treated or cedar or thermally modified, mostly thermally modified, um, to those clients, which still kept you at a lower price point to keep you underneath the composite point. Because a lot of, sorry, I say that like an American. There's a difference between how we say that, composite and composite. um,
I know what you're getting at.
yeah, but they it started picking up a little bit to a point of just sort of finding that sort of middle left alone zone of that sort of mid-range offering of, like, if they knew it was there and you're coming back and cleaning it every year, it worked. And it was just something along the line. It was really easy to do. You just had to do it. And and it really, more than anything, it wasn't really a paint expert. It was a service industry more than anything else. It was a service. You show up, and people knew when
Yeah.
you got there, it was something you had, and it was when you got onto it into a regular thing. It's just a wash, clean. We weren't sanding or stripping, which is great about the product because everything else, oh, you gotta. It would be peeling or flaking, and you'd have to sand and remove that. The Q-Tek it's a wash, let the surface dry. So we would wash in the rain in the early spring, go around and do a bunch of cleans, and then as soon as the sun came out, then we just go back and start coating again. And it worked. It worked great. By the time we'd be busy all over the place, going all into these high-end neighborhoods and the rich cottages, which are some pretty schwanky spots. I'm pretty sure I've seen some of your pretty much cottages and places much similar to a lot like the projects you're currently working on with that, and you have that's just absolutely beautiful properties, which led to a whole other scale level of fine home builders that were now looking for the services, and we're helping them with that. So it just kept snowballing. And to the point I basically retired from building and just started focusing on that and the material. And just last year or two, I just sold the whole maintenance company before I hopped on full bore. And basically, the guy running it now, he was running it for me at the time. I sold it to him and said, here you go. I'll work you out a deal, and we'll do something over the next few years. You're doing all the work anyways. You just basically got to show up, and then you've got a full book of work. And I'm gonna go help Cutek out and share this with other guys so we can let other people know that this is a form. And it's basically fell on sort of along the principles. You take a look at like a car dealership, like all the great car manufacturers are out there. You're building that amazing product right off the bat. You've got that beautiful car that comes out of the showroom and everybody's happy in it. But that's only one part of how those big companies do it. It's like right down the way is the parts and service counter. And while that they know that it's going to require maintenance down the stream. It's not just a wash your car or wax the car. It's all the other things that go along with it, keeping it up to the point. And fortunately, with some of the stuff that I had in the experience as a builder and a lot of the education things that I knew through Nadra as well, and like Glenn Matheson and the trip down the load path course that they have down there, like, wow, that was an extremely beneficial course for me to. I knew a lot of it, but how it all sort of tied together, and then bringing my staff to it. And when you're cleaning and maintaining, you see every inch of the whole entire project. So if you know what the structure components are, and like the railing connections, you're in underneath checking stuff. We would throw that deck inspection into the whole yearly thing to make sure, like, here you go, not a problem. Hey, we noticed this happened, and we'd write up sort of an incident report, or not like something's damaged here. We would write that down and basically present it to them. It's all cleaned up. However, we noticed these couple things. This is something you should probably get addressed. And they're like, oh, could you guys take care of it? And we do a couple little odd repairs, but it's that place where everyone goes and unwinds. It's the place of rest. The last thing you want to do is have to worry about it. And so, like
Right.
all of these, like philosophies and way how we sort of went along the way, they just all tied together, and it just made perfect sense. And I was like, what better way to tie something in together, but also monetize it and get along to it. And I will tell you, getting that residual little income on, it might be, the $60,000 build or something like that, but all of a sudden coming back and you're getting that little bit of tickle every year again afterwards. It wasn't a lot, but you start throwing 50 of those all together, it was pretty easy. And
Yeah.
it was a good margin. So like a lot of those times
Yeah.
where I've walked off of builds and I'm going like, man, I think I bought that job. Never the case when you did maintenance, and
Right.
you always came ahead. You didn't have, it wasn't high in the way of materials, and you didn't need any $3,600 bending blankets or anything. You had a paintbrush, maybe a ladder, a couple drop cloths, and cares, right? Like that being the most important of them all. It's and your clients, they loved you. Every time you come back and they finish, they're just like, I love it. It's just like the first day we had it, and that would be half a decade downstream afterwards. So
Nice.
yeah, it was pretty, it was neat. Yeah.
Cool. All right, John. Well, we're out of time for our normal episode of the Dr. X podcast, but I have some more questions for John. So, John, we're going to flip over to our Patreon channel and finish up with you over there. And I want to delve into the science of the product and why is it such a good product. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Cutek Extreme. So if you want to hear that, make sure you go subscribe to our Patreon channel, sign up. It's only $5 a month, and you get a lot more information than you do on our standard podcast. But as of now, John, thank you so much for Jon Witt. We really appreciate you being on our podcast, and thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us today. Great information, and great to get to know you a little bit. Thanks for being here, and thanks for listening, guys. All right, take us out, Cal.